Before Travis Barnes became a best-selling author, international presenter, founder, and franchisor of Journey Fitness 333, he spent a decade of his life in prison for a non-violent drug offense. Hello and welcome to Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. Joining us now is Travis Barnes. Thank you so much for joining us, Travis.
Well, thank you for having me on this show. I'm excited to be here, Robin.
Oh my gosh, you have such an interesting story. Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting story because I was first in love with fitness at about the age of 5. I knew that being fit on the outside made me feel better on the inside. I was growing up in a broken home, and so I always had this passion. But a small town boy went to Las Vegas, and I took a wayward journey. I was introduced, this impressionable young kid was introduced to a lifestyle that included illicit drugs. And so, as I went down this downward spiral, it eventually landed me in prison. I drove in one time, I drove into the middle of a federal investigation, and that was enough to give me 10 years in prison. 10
Oh
years. Yeah.
boy. Oh my
Now,
goodness.
in that process of addiction, you get very unhealthy. I'd lost
Yes.
my weight. I certainly wasn't focused on that passion that I once had for health and fitness. So during that time of, solitude, prison is a very crowded place, but you're also very alone. So you have this time to really just rediscover and think about who you are and who you want to be. And for me, I got to rediscover my passion for fitness. I got to start helping people who were locked up. I would teach adult continuing education classes about how to become a certified trainer. I would teach nutrition classes for them about, how to eat right. And so I got to rediscover my passion. And, I kind of feel like I did that for a long enough period of time to, excuse me, earn the right to do it now on a grander scale. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Happened the first time.
So once you got out of prison, then what did you do?
When I got out of prison, here's how it went. And so coming home from prison, I had a wife and a daughter to return home to. And that means the world. Your support system is just so,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that can make a big difference in your life. It's about having the right people. And when I came home, here's what happened. My wife had put in some resumes at different places for me, hoping that I could get hired. And a local gym hired me on as their trainer. So I worked my way up from trainer to manager to chief operations officer. I worked really hard because my wife and daughter had been living with my mother for a period of time, and I wanted them to have a home of their own. So I worked really hard so that I could be able to afford that for them. And we got our home, and after 2 months, it was flooded to the second floor. There was a flood that came in. It was a flood of 2011, I think it was 2011.
And where were you living?
We were in Athens, Pennsylvania, and we happened to be in like the lowest point of this town, right? So the flood comes in, and our house looks like a submarine. It's flooded,
Oh man.
or just the top sticking out. And I'm thinking to myself, man, can't a guy catch a break? And here's, I
Absolutely.
was feeling pretty lucky to get the job, and I was feeling lucky to work my way up, and I worked my way up, and then we got a house that's
Boom.
buried underwater. And so what I wound up doing is we would rebuild at nights and weekends and different things. And then here we are living in a FEMA trailer. And
Oh man.
shortly after Thanksgiving, and we were let go. I was
Oh.
actually let go. Let me just rephrase that. My wife was working at this fitness center with me now. And the owner decides that he has a vision after I had opened up multiple locations for him and been very dedicated. The owner decided that he had a vision, and it was going to be to have his business without me. And that's a nice way to say that I got fired. Well, when I got fired, my wife walked out the door with me, but here we are in a FEMA trailer, now both on unemployment. What are we going to do?
How old was your daughter?
Oh, at the time, let's see. So 2011, she would have been about 9 at the time.
Okay. So tough situation.
Yeah, very tough. And I was the provider, even though my wife was working too. I was the main one. And here we are at the holidays in a FEMA trailer, and I'm like, just what am I supposed to do? And I've always followed my passion. I've always returned to that passion. So it felt like to do anything else would have been spiritual suicide. So at first I'm like, okay, well, we're going to be traveling trainers, right?
Yeah.
So we're picking our daughter up from school. We had a Nissan Sentra at the time, and she's sandwiched between two stability balls, looking like an Oreo cookie or something. We got kettlebells busting out the trunk. And this goes on for a few months. And then my father starts asking me, he says, hey, Travis, I'm going to church with this lady, and it's about a half hour away from our nearest client. And he says, she has an adjoining space next to her salon. You should come check it out. And I was like, oh, Dad, that's a half hour away from my nearest client. What am I going to do with this space anyway?
Right.
I'm a FEMA trailer on an unemployment check. I don't have any business looking at a commercial space. And so he's persistent. And I don't know, Robin, have you ever done something to just shut somebody up? Just be like, okay, you know
Yeah,
what?
right. I'll just do right. Oh, yes.
Yeah, stop bugging me. And so I actually went in there with like the intention almost to prove him wrong, because I was gonna be like, okay, well, once I tell this lady that I'm on an unemployment check living in a FEMA trailer, she's gonna be like,
See ya.
okay, let's do it,
Right.
right? And so I get there, and she's an Italian lady, pretty religious lady. She's got spiritual quotes up on the wall in her salon, and just different things, like Christian music is playing as we're touring around, and she's all excited. And she's like, her name was Rosa Michael, and she's like, oh yeah, you can do this over here and you can do that over there. So my wife and I take the tour of the space, and then when we get done, I tell her, ma'am, you have a very nice space, but I live in a FEMA trailer. I'm on an unemployment check. I really have no resources. And that's when she says, I don't care about any of that. All I know is that God told me that you're supposed to be here.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
I I look at Cindy. We weren't even going to church at the time. I looked at Cindy and I said, Cindy, this woman thinks that God is talking to her about us. So we get out in the car, and I said, what do you say to that? I mean, it sounds like she's giving us an opportunity to move in and make a go at this. And Cindy says, well, I guess we're starting a fitness business.
Wow. If God said to do it.
It
Yeah.
seemed like a good idea. So we got a high interest loan for equipment. We got a couple months free rent. The newspaper would take our credit as kind of like, you could pay in the rears, right? As far as, get a little advertising up
Yeah,
front
yeah.
after 30 days. And so began Journey Fitness. Well, here I am in a FEMA trailer. I'm like, I got a business now. I got to write a mission statement. And our mission was to have life transforming group personal training. That was the goal. We believe in the power of the group. We believe that the strength is in our community. And so we provide all the benefits of one-on-one while people are being trained in the group. It's the only group training franchise that I know of where not only are you getting your results tracked, not only is your nutrition getting tracked, but we track you down when you don't show up. I'm talking, we have an MIA program. Like if you're missing in action, we're out in the community and we're looking for you. Like, I mean, we know where to find you. And we sure happen. But we send texts, we get phone calls. You hired us as your coach to get you from where you're at to where you want to go, and we're going to make sure that you get there, even if it takes that kind of high
I
accountability.
love that because there are times people are just like, "It's not for me. I can't do it." They get down. It takes work sometimes, and yeah, that's great that you do that because sometimes people need that little extra push.
I think it's the number one reason that people fail. Like it seems like we try things just long enough to frustrate ourselves, right? We don't stick with them, and so it's like if you move more and eat better long enough, you're going to have success. But the problem is we move better or we move more and we eat better just for a short enough period of time to see a little bit of success, but not really get to our goals. So we feel like accountability is a big factor for us. Motivation is another factor, and so we know people very well. If there's 30 people standing in the room, we can introduce everybody by their first name. We know their goals. We know their limitations. If they hit 20 pounds, we hang a medal around their neck. We're always celebrating them different years with different anniversary gifts. We have some members that have been with us since the very beginning, which it began around 2013.
I
So
love this. That's awesome. I mean,
yeah,
yes. And so you had success with it, with
yeah,
this club. And then
yeah.
when did you begin to franchise?
Well, we quickly grew to 5 locations in 4 years. And that was something that, while I was in my college, my university, also known as prison, because I used my time wisely. I kept on pursuing education, and I was always helping others, and so I was studying business, and I came out a systems guy, and I think that's why I was a good find for my previous employer. And I opened up multiple locations for him because I could identify the systems that made something work and reproduce them in other places. So we quickly grew to 5 locations in 4 years. And several people approached us about franchising. They said, I go to your other location and the same things are happening there that are happening here. And it doesn't really take you being there for that to happen.
Right.
Franchise. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, no, we couldn't possibly be a franchise. I mean, here I am, a guy that went to prison for 10 years who was only hoping that I'd get a job when I came home. And now I got people telling me that I should be a franchise. I mean, that takes a lot of faith and belief. And so,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it does. I know.
you know,
Where was your first look? You were in New York, right? Your first.
yeah, we're in upstate New York.
Uh-huh.
This is like a Finger Lakes region of New York.
Yeah.
Cornell University is near us. Ithaca and all those kind of places. So rural communities, really, and not like big cities. We actually, I like to say that we made it despite our economy and despite our population in some areas. We're
Yeah.
successful. Um, and so as more and more people suggested that to us, finally somebody that we trusted, Mark, he came to us and said, "Yeah, you should become a franchise." And the day that we accepted that, I felt like we were accepting a calling. And I started thinking about what that would mean. And so I started looking at other big franchises like, there's 2,500 Orange Series and 1,000 Fit Body
Yeah.
Boot Camp.
Yeah. Yeah. Crunch. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I was like, what would that mean if there was 1,000 journeys? And I was like, wow, that's 5 to 8,000 coaches a day waking up to change lives. And I was like, huh. And I'm like, well, what if 1,000 people went through each journey? I'm like, well, that's 1,000,000 lives changed. And what if the average weight loss was 10 pounds? I'm like, well, that's 10 million pounds of weight. That's our excited, right? I'm told that just a 5% reduction in body weight is going to be enough to change somebody's vitals to where their blood pressure gets lower, their blood sugars get better, the cholesterol gets better. So I'm like, this is a good thing to dedicate my life to. And that's when we decided to become a franchise. And after that, we have the Corning, New York location as a franchise. We have a franchise in Indiana. We have a franchise down in North Palm Beach, Florida. So now we're in 4 different states. And, all started from a FEMA trailer.
Wow, that is an unbelievable story. And you're still emphasizing group fitness. Is that still what you're doing?
So we have 7 different models, and every adversity introduces us to ourselves and gives us an obstacle or an opportunity. And I will say that we're pretty much exclusively group before the pandemic. But after the pandemic, we realized that there was going to be more. There's going to be a resurgence of one-on-one. There were going to be people that just want to be trained by themselves
Mm-hmm.
and stay away from germs, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe them to be trained with them and just a spouse, which was called semi-private, or them and a couple friends, small group, or of course, every fitness business and many other kinds of businesses need some sort of virtual component now. And so now we also have a virtual component, which is servicing all the franchises. So now we have several different types of service, and that's because the pandemic made us better. We survived it as a business, and on the other side, we got better. Interesting story, about this journey 333. I kind of want to tie it all together. I feel very blessed to be where I'm at today. And it's because of the people I've been surrounded by, but it's also, I got to give credit. I believe in, I have a strong faith, a strong spirituality. It's not, I'm not a denominational type of person, but I will tell you that I feel very blessed. And when we found out that we were going to be a franchise, when we said, okay, we're going to do this. And so now we're talking to a franchise attorney and he said, yeah, we're going to go for it. And you guys got something that you can franchise here. And so here we go. And they said, oh, one problem, you can't trademark Journey Fitness. And we're like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, well, you'll have to come up with a different name for your franchise. And I'm like, imagine this. I mean, you have a 17-year-old, I have a 19-year-old. What if they tell you that you have to rename your kid? I mean,
That's my child.
hold on a minute.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, if we make it a little different, could we keep it? And he's like, well, we can try some things. And so I'm like, okay, well, we're more than fitness. We're Journey Fitness. We're coaching and nutrition. So I'm like, Journey Fitness, coaching and nutrition. I said, that's a little long. Okay, so let's go with, we started trying to come up with different threes that we did. And we do a lot of different things. We're like a mind, body, spirit type of place. We help people look better, live better, feel better. So we're like Journey 3. And we're like, oh, that's too small of a number. We're like Fitness 110 out there. There's Fitness 360, turn your life around, 212, the extra degree. We're just going to be Journey 3. I'm like, no. Think about all these different threes, and then we were like, Journey Trifecta, and my wife is, that sounds like a racing company, and I'm
Yeah.
like Journey Trinity, and she's like, people are gonna think we're really religious, and I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, how about Journey 3X, and she's like, Journey Triple X, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
Okay,
not good.
that's
People think we're
you
different
get
kind
in
of stuff.
trouble with that one.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. And so one morning I woke up thinking about Journey 333. And so I told a friend of mine about it. And he said, oh, 333. He's like, did you know that was God's phone number? I said, God's phone number. I said, if I knew God had a phone number, I'd call him a long time ago. I got some questions, I want to talk about the flooded house, and I want, I want
I could
to,
use a little lifeline here.
And he said, no, there's this spot in the Bible, I believe it's Jeremiah 33:3, where it says, call on me and I'll answer. So different Christians will wear shirts that say that that's his number. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That gives me a good confirmation. So I call the attorney and I say, we're thinking about Journey 333. What if we weren't Journey Fitness, but we were Journey 333, like that? And so he's like, oh, the initial search looks pretty good. So I'm like, he's Googling, I should Google. So the first thing I Google, and when I see 333, is you're seeing this sign because God wants to be a co-creator with you in the universe. That's what it comes up. It doesn't come up about the Jeremiah quote. It comes up like that. I'm like, boy, I'm feeling really good about this. And so the lawyer comes back, and you're going to love this part. This is where I got my final confirmation. The lawyer comes back and he says, it looks like it's going to work out. And this is what I think you should do. You should get a main line that ends in 333, like a main phone number. And that's when I said, oh man, that's been our phone number since the beginning. 607-735-0333. Never gave that a thought.
Oh my gosh.
But then
Right.
I'm like, if that's not a confirmation that we're on a God blessed journey and that, like it's just meant to be, I don't know what is. So I'm like, okay, we're Journey 333 now.
How awesome. That is really a great story. I love that story because I was wondering where you got the name from. Tell us about some of your clients and the people that you help. Are they all ages, men, women? What are they looking to do in their lives? Because you're a fitness guy, I'm a fitness girl. I know what it feels like I always say, I've never finished a workout and said, I wish I didn't do that. You always feel better. And one of the toughest things I always say to people is just getting your sneakers on, just getting started. And I don't know, in our society, we've made it easy to be lazy, I think. We've made it the clicker on the TV and elevators and, technology. And so much of it is just about, not moving and fast foods and not doing what we should do to stay healthy, that you have to actually make an effort to be
Right.
healthy. And so, what do you hear from people? What are they looking for, the majority of your clients?
Yeah, so the different types of clients that we serve, which I think we have about 3 different customer types. We got the younger adventurer obstacle course racer type. We got the working professional, just want to get their sexy back. They and they can, I mean, 60 can be the new 30. I believe that. I have a lot of
I'm glad to
women.
hear you say that. It makes me
Well,
feel better.
I got a lot of men and women in my gym proving it, in all of our gyms. And then we have those that want to grow bolder, not older. There are people that no longer want to just retire to the lazy boy and let their life slip away. They really want to have some adventure in those years. And so, what I'm seeing more of is that people just really need relationships. They need accountability. They need motivation. And that's why I think that we're so focused on providing that, because in this world of distractions, it's so easy to have other things slip in. There's just so much coming at you to where you're not really focused on you. I think there's, I don't know, over how many thousands of minutes are there in a day when you think about it? I think there's like 11,000 minutes, and we don't even give ourselves 5 of them,
Right,
right?
right. Yes.
And so that's something that we try to help our people do a lot, is we dive deep with them into their goals. We give them plans for their macros. We give them plans for how many times a week they should work out. We help them stay accountable to those
And you
plans.
design them for their needs. They're
Yeah,
customized. Yes,
very important.
that
That's
is.
We
Yeah,
wanted all the benefits of one-on-one to be done in the group. And that means if you got a knee, if you got a hip, if you got a back, if you
yeah,
got a shoulder issue, then that program has to be customized for you.
absolutely.
And that's why we provide different options for different levels of fitness and for different needs.
And also, my husband and I always talk about this. If you hate running, don't run. There's other things you can do. Like, don't force yourself. You're not going to stick with it. If it's something that you really just despise doing, find something else. There's a million ways to get there. And that's what I've always said, like it may not be the most fun thing in the world, but at least it's something you can do, you can stay with. So find that.
And when I see other different types of fitness businesses, I love to go on gym tours and just kind of experience what they're offering because I can always find a gem there. I know some people they kind of think so competitively that their way is the only way and this is what you have to do. And that
Yes.
reminds me of like when I first started fitness, everybody had to do Arnold Schwarzenegger's workout,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right. Right. Right.
Jane Fonda, the guys did Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's what they did or something. But now it's like, yes, there's all kinds of different types of fitness that help you to move more and eat better.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if you can stay on that plan long enough in a way that doesn't harm you and in a way that helps you, you're going to get to where you want to go. So embrace something. I don't care if it's a rowing machine, what it is. I mean, there are some things, of course, that work your various ranges of motion better than others. But if you're doing nothing and you start doing something, then we're making progress,
It is
baby.
money in the bank, baby.
Yeah, right.
It's money in the bank. And my husband's line is he always says it can't not work. If you
Yeah.
do it, it's gonna work.
That's
But
right.
it's a matter, as you said, of sticking with it because we're in such a immediate gratification kind of society. Oh, I worked out for a month, I didn't lose any weight, I don't look it didn't take you a month to gain 30 pounds. It's not going to take you a month to lose 30 pounds. And so you got to give it a little time. It does take effort, but once you start to see it, and it's not just how you look, it's how you feel. And it's the confidence you gain by doing something good for yourself. And I want people to know that just like you feel. I want everyone to know how great that can feel. And some people have limitations, but whatever you can do at your level, you just feel so good about yourself that you're living a better, healthy life.
I heard someone say the other day, a friend of mine, mentor, Todd Durkin, he sent out a little thing. He says, it's halftime. And, if you feel like you got your butt kicked for the first part of the year, then, it's time to give yourself that game winning speech, where you go in the locker room at halftime and you say, what am I going to do with the second half? How am I going to come out and make this a win? So let's say that you're 6 months into 2021 and you haven't done anything about your fitness yet. And, of course, everybody wants to lose 30 pounds yesterday. Of course we do. But what would it mean for the next 26 weeks to lose a pound a
Yes.
week, or even like a half a pound a week? Would that make a difference in your year? So, sometimes we have to look at things more long term. I've had many people come to the scale and get frustrated. And they're like, oh, I only lost a pound this week. I'm like, yeah, but if you lost a pound every week for a whole entire year, I said, I'd have to stop you. Many people that I come in contact with don't have 50 pounds to lose. So,
Right.
I said we would eventually be talking about how to just maintain.
Yeah.
Well, if they do have 50 pounds to lose, then what a difference a year can make.
Absolutely. You got to start somewhere and you got to take that first step. And sometimes I think that's the hardest part when someone hasn't either worked out in a long time or maybe they never worked out. Maybe it was never part of their lives. And I think about my mom, God rest her soul, and I think about her, the word exercise and the word diet would like make her blood curl, like, ugh, I don't want to do that stuff. What is that stuff? I don't do that. I don't go to a gym and I don't eat diet. She used to call it dietetic food. It's like, I don't eat dietetic food. That was gross to her. We want pasta,
Yeah.
gravy. But if you just make little changes, I mean, we always say this to people, you don't have to change the whole thing at once, just little steps. And you know what I always like to say too, add something, add some fruit, add some vegetables. Don't think about taking away, just add a
Yeah.
little bit. And that can be a little first step in the right direction because it's very hard for people to think about, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to eat that ever again. And that's ridiculous. It's true you can. It's just people have this all or nothing mentality, and sometimes that's just too much for people.
Oh, well, absolutely, absolutely, and we're too tough on ourselves. We will see. Let's say, oh well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And, oh, I didn't make it to the gym 6 days this week, so I may as well give up. Well, how many days did you make it before you started? You made it 0, right? So if you made it 2 times this week, that's a 200% improvement. I mean, like, but we're very tough on ourselves, and
Yes.
we don't take things in small, manageable changes. Like they tell you about losing a pound a week because it's manageable. It's something your body will give up and not notice. But instead, we want to lose 10 pounds this week. And when we only lose 5 pounds this week, we're frustrated. And when we don't lose any pounds the next week, then we're ready to give up. And that's a vicious cycle. You know, you
Yes.
have to look at this. It's like this is an ever evolving, changing
Yes.
lifestyle.
And it
You
is
know,
in our control. I mean, that's one thing that sometimes people feel it's out of their control. Oh, I can't do it, or I like to eat this too much or drink too much. You can control that. I mean, that's up to you. It's your decision, it's your choice. And by sometimes, let's face it, you do have to give some things up. I mean, it's the way life works. Nothing good in life ever comes unless you work for it. I mean, that's just how it is. But that's the beauty of it. Because you
no,
work for it, it makes it so sweet.
yeah, and you know what I've heard, Robin? I've heard people saying, I'd love for your listeners to hear that this is just not the way to think. I've heard people say, I really want to come to your gym, but I know I need to get fit first.
Ah, I gotta clean my house before the cleaning lady comes, you know?
Yeah, right. I got to clean my house. People think that way too, but that's just not the way to think about it. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. That's a Zig Ziglar quote,
I love
and it's
that.
take that first step, right? You take that first step and know that that's where people come to get fit. I mean, I have people in my gym that need to lose 100 pounds. Our greatest weight loss was 200 pounds by a male, 170 by a female, and those are people that started with a pound, just like, who's ever listening right now.
Yes,
They had to
yes.
walk through the doors, and
And
then they
that
had
changed their entire life. I'm sure that did. Yeah, absolutely.
little changes. What could you do? Here's what we do wrong. We say, okay, I'm going to journal my food. Oh, I stopped journaling. I suck. I failed. Let me give up. No, again, just like the working out. Did you journal 3 days last week? Well, if you just started journaling, you're doing 3 days better than you did the week before,
Before, yes.
right? So like, let's just keep on trying.
Yeah.
Let's not pull ourselves to like that all or nothing 100% standard.
I love it. I love your whole mentality, your whole attitude. It's awesome and everything that you've done. Where can people reach you if they'd be interested in either working with you or even starting their own franchise?
Yeah, for sure. So if you go to travisbarnespeaks.com, there's a lot of different links on there that, can take you to me as far as social media links, or you can fill out a little interest form and we can talk. Other things, journeyfitness333.com. It has a franchise site. It also has different locations. Maybe there's a location near you, or maybe there soon will be. So
Uh-huh. Or work out online. There's virtual workouts now. So that's where we all are.
yeah, that bald white guy you can find on Facebook under Travis Barnes, so another good place.
They may think that's my husband because he's a bald white guy too. So it's a great. I like that hairstyle. I love that hairstyle. Well, you've been great, and I'll put all that in the show notes too, so people can just get the link. It'll make it easy.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank
That's it.
you. I really enjoyed our conversation, Travis. It was great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff. Hope to see you again next time. Until then, please stay safe and keep living well.